Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Colorful Conversation. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Wednesday. I'm a little worried. My power went out about 5 minutes before I came on here, so if you lose me, that's what's going on. Not sure what is happening, but looks like we're okay now. So let me see some comments to am indeed live because of that before I talk to myself for a half hour. So, yes, I see some people on here now. Good. Let me just make sure. Let me know if you can see and hear me. For some reason, it takes forever to show up on my phone. So while I'm waiting for that, I will keep talking. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you who supported the second revival event. We had an amazing event. We had a little bit of tech stress in the beginning, but after that, all was good. Okay, good. I see your comments now. So I'm assuming you guys can hear me. Awesome. Hi, Sidra. Hi, Margarita. Hi, Deborah, Teresa, Ashley, Misty, Carolyn. Good morning. So Revival was amazing. We had a lot of new presenters. We try to keep the energy and the great experience of our original event by inviting people back to the second one, but we don't want to have the same people every single year because you want something different and something new. So this year we did the global edition and we invited Australian educators, Ireland educators, and UK educators. So it was a great mix. If I do say so myself, I mean, I sit and listen to every single presentation as you do because I have to make sure that everything is going well, but I learn just as much by being a student in my own event, listening to everybody's the different things that they bring. Chris Moody was something new we did. He trains trainers, he trains people who teach. And, even though most of the people in the audience were not looking to be educators, he talked about communication and leadership. So it was great for everyone listening. We had Dr. Lou, who never disappoints. He was the biggest tech challenge. He's from the flip phone generation, so it was really tough to get him on. But when we finally did, he was not flustered at all, and he brought it. And his talk about attitude, our production crew sits there and listens to everything too. And most of the time, they're all giddy and childish when the hair stuff is on because they have no interest. But they sat straight up and listened to every word that Dr. Lou had said about attitude and how that changes everything. And as you know, with different memes that float around on Facebook and Instagram, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens. It's your attitude. We all know that, but he is able to make it relevant to the salon industry and how important our attitude and energy is that we bring to the client behind the chair. So I am on, last night was session 2 of my Corrective Color Boot Camp. If you didn't already sign up, it's not too late. You can jump in, you can watch sessions 1 and 2 and catch up before we do the final master classes, which are coming up. I believe it's the 1st and the 3rd are the master classes. It is all free. The boot camp's free. The master classes are free. I have a very special gift that I'm giving away to the people who show up live for the master classes. So in doing this Corrective Color Boot Camp, I was torn on whether or not to share a story of something that happened to me recently because as an educator, of course, I want you to think that I never make mistakes and that I know everything because I want you to look up to me as a mentor of someone who may be a little bit further ahead in their career than you and has already made the mistakes and recovered from them. But because I have so much experience and it's been 35 years, I made a big mistake recently in thinking that I didn't have to practice something before I did it on an actual model. So I booked a model for my insider membership. I like to keep adding value and new techniques and try to keep it fresh all the time. So my husband's cousin needed her hair done and she was a chronic base breaker. If you know me and you follow me, I'm not super fan of base breaking. It's very brassy and warm and becomes this weird color as it grows down through the hair, that you're then always trying to get rid of the brass, and then it gets muddy, and I could go on and on of all the reasons I don't like base breaking. So I've been on her. I've lived here almost 3 years. She lives here, and I've been on her the entire time to stop lightening her base. She has a beautiful natural base, and she makes a gorgeous blonde. She has beautiful pale eyes, but she does have a lot of gold flecks. And if you come to my boot camps, you know that tells you that her hair is going to be very warm if you don't get it light enough. So I had her grow out her base break, and I wanted to do this brand new technique on her that I learned back in April. So I went to a class in April. I sat on the class, I took notes, I took little clips of video, not enough. I should have taken more video. And the person who did the class had said to me, you know, a lot of educators come to my classes, and then I feel like they're gonna take what they learn and then teach it in their programs. And I said, that's not me. If I did share it, I would bring you into the membership and have you teach it. I'm not gonna steal your ideas and take it, but I do want to know how to do it just for my own self, because it's something new that I've never seen. So, hey, Michael, welcome. So I took the class in April, took the scribbly notes, which you know when you come home from a class. That's why I love Revival, and I love that I do virtual education, because every one of my members can watch me do something once, and then they can be like, oh, I want to try that, but let me watch it again. And then they can be doing it and have it on their phone and stop the video and do whatever it is and then go back and keep going. So there's this revisiting that happens in a virtual education that can't happen in an in-person education. So I thought I remembered all the steps and had it down in my mind. And I found that it shouldn't be necessary after 35 years for me to practice this on a doll head. So she was ready to get her color done. I booked her. We went to Johnny's salon and, you know, had all the things out and started to do it. And this technique, every single piece of hair on the entire head must be dealt with. So there's no skipped hair in between like a traditional foil. So the first piece was teased at the root, highlighted on the tips. The next piece is a complete low light. The next piece might be highlighted from the mids to the ends, but every single piece is colored in some way. She has a ton of hair. It's like down to here, thick blonde hair, already highlighted a lot from all that base break and all that jazz. So by the time I got to here, coming from the nape all the way to here, I was exhausted. I was frazzled. I was like, what the heck did I get myself into? Why did I do this on her and not on a doll head? And Johnny, who owns the salon, and another member, Sylvia, were both there. I was like, hey guys, I'm using your salon. Come to the class, you know, learn this technique. So they're there and they're kind of looking at each other like, this is a lot of work. And I'm like, this is a lot of work. So by the time I got to here, I was like, you know what? I just want to finish and do it the way that I normally do it. So the reason that I'm sharing this with you is, A, it was exhausting, it was nerve-wracking, it was stressful because it was new, right? It was something brand new that I had never done before. I would be okay with that if I went through all the stress and sweat and all of getting through it, if it was a great result. I would keep doing it and keep going for it and keep perfecting it. It did not turn out how I wanted it to turn out. It was probably the worst color I think I've ever done in my entire career, and I can say that proudly right now that I've done a lot of color. I've specialized in color for over 18 years. For the first 17 years of my career, I did everything. The second 18 years was just color, and I was the correction queen. People sent people to me from all over when things went poorly for me to fix them. So I understand color inside and out. This particular technique, the entire time I was watching her do it, there was a lot of things that I was tilting my head going, why do you do that? That's sitting on there an awful long time. So I was questioning things, but because her model turned out so good and she had done it on my hair and it turned out so good, I was like, wow, this is really awesome, because it's a very lived in look. It's very easy to grow out, and the client has 6 months between visits. So I was like, there's value in this technique. And as a color educator, I always like to pick up new tools, new techniques, new things. So it was an absolute disaster, and I was so sick over it, like beyond, like 3 straight days of depression where my family was like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I was like, I don't make those kind of mistakes. Like, it's been 35 years. How could that be so bad? Like, it was so, in my opinion, it was so bad. The person who had her hair done was like, oh my God, it's fine. She was ready to go on vacation. Of course, she was leaving the next day, right? We always have those clients when things go south. It's always like the day before their wedding, or the day before senior portraits for high school, or the day before a vacation. So I was like, I cannot let you go on vacation like this. So she came back, or no, it was 2 days before her vacation. So she came to me the next day, and I was like, I have to fix this. Now, this is where the part comes in that I'm proud of, is that because I've done this for so long and because I understand the fundamentals so well, I wasn't worried about fixing it. I was upset that it needed to be fixed. And how many times have you had someone come in and you do a color service and you're like, what the heck? Who is that person that just did that color? How did that just happen that way? And sometimes it's because we're in our head. You know, my dad passed away right before this model. Like, my husband was like, you know, it's not that unusual that you weren't at your best. Your dad just passed away. And I'm like, no, that is not it. That is not it. I was not worried about that. But sometimes we're not our best selves when we're doing something. So the lesson for me was trying it on a doll head, because I would have seen on the doll head that, you know, the lightener was sitting on way too long to be able to finish the technique, doing it all at once and not rinsing in between. There were a lot of gems and a lot of lessons. So the reason that I'm sharing it, as embarrassing as it is, I see Johnny's on here, and I went the next day to pick up the stuff to fix her hair the next day, and I said, oh my God, Johnny, I want to share this with our group because I want them to know that I'm human and that I still make mistakes, but I also am embarrassed because 35 years of being, you know, the name of this page is Expert Color Solutions, and I'm proud of how far I've come from beauty school to now. But I also thought it was important to share, because how many times do you want to quit over that one head? You know, her daughter, ironically, right after the mishap, said, she calls me Hair Jesus. She thinks I'm amazing. She's like, Hair Jesus, can you please highlight my hair? And I'm like, you want me to color your hair after what I just did to your mother? And she's like, what? Like, she looked at her mother's hair and thought it was fine. Her mother thought it was fine. Everybody thought it was fine but me, because I know I can do better. So if a client gets up out of your chair and she's walking to the front desk and you see that big bleed mark in the back that she didn't see, she's smiling on the way out, she's happy as a clam, she's paying her bill, she's, you know, tipping you well, she has no idea that that whomper is in the back of her head, and you're like, oh, thank God, because I'm running behind and I just want her to leave. Don't do that. Walk up to her and say, grab her by the arm and, you know, pull her aside. You don't have to blast it out in front of the whole salon and embarrass yourself and the client, but you say, you know what, Julie, I'm looking at the back of your head and there's a spot that I missed, and I'm so sorry. The foil must have slipped, and I don't want to leave it that way. I know you have to leave today. I know you're pressed for time, but can you pop in another day and just 15 minutes give me to make that right? You know, it's that personal touch and that caring that much about the end product that's going to create the loyalty. It's not, oh my gosh, don't point it out because she doesn't see it. Who cares? She still thinks you're great. It's let her know that you can do better and you want to do better for her, because there's a reason she's in your chair. She's probably gone to 5 other people that left the whomper, but the whomper was in the front. That's the only difference. The bleed or the orange spot is in the front versus the back, and the client saw it and freaked out. But don't just let it hide back there, and make it right. You know, I fixed her, no problem. But again, she was going on vacation, so I couldn't do exactly what I wanted to do. And I will see her again, and I will do an even better job at giving her exactly what I set out to give her. I just won't be using that technique. So here's the difference. I'm not perfecting that technique. I'm not perfecting that technique because it didn't come out perfect. I'm not doing it anymore because I think there's better ways of doing it. That's all. You know, I feel like it's not like, oh, this is too hard, I don't want to push through, the way I feel about exercise, you know, where I'm just like hurting myself by not pushing through. This is, you know, that's a way that she does it. That's a great way for her. And she teaches classes and she has a lot of success with it. She's very, very successful. But for me, and maybe it's an old school thing, I just find that there's easier ways that are a little gentler on the hair that I can get to the same place. And that's what I'm going to go back to. But I'm not sorry that I went to the class. I'm not sorry that I'm sorry it didn't turn out. I'm very sorry about that. But I pick up my big girl panties and I move on, and I just do it the way that I find to be more effective. And I can now share with my group of paid members what not to do. You know, like, oh, you're going to see this floating around Instagram and it looks amazing in the finished product, but this is what it does to the hair to get it there, and it's not great, the condition of the hair. So, you know, that's the lesson. There's so many tools now for corrective color that did not exist when I started out in this industry in 1986. The chemicals that we had to use for corrective color were way more harsh on the hair and way more aggressive. Color remover back then, I think the only one I can remember being in existence was Efisol. And Beth Minardi used to teach at our classes saying that when she uses Efisol, she immediately gets a nosebleed. So do we want to work with a product that's going to make our nose bleed? I mean, that's crazy. We all know the effects of, you know, Brazilian blowouts and the smoothing treatments and how everybody was having, you know, trouble breathing and all these health things. When you're doing this over a lot of years, which obviously I have 35 years, you can only imagine the toxins that are walking around in my body from all of the hair color, the ammonia, all of the chemicals that are in what we do. And sometimes we get lazy and we're working quickly and we forego the gloves. And we're working through, you know, color in the ends, or we're wiping off some lightener with our fingers, and your fingers, everything that touches your fingers goes into your bloodstream. So we're working with volatile chemicals, and sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we need to be reminded what we're working with, what we're breathing in, you know, crack a window open, have an exhaust system, have some way, drink a lot of water. I was very guilty of when I was doing all this color, I wasn't drinking enough water because I didn't want to keep going to the bathroom. You know, as you get older, for you young people, you don't know this yet, but as you get older, you have to pee every 30, I feel like a puppy. It's like every 30 seconds, I'm like urgently having to go to the bathroom. So when you're working on a 2.5, 3 hour corrective color, you don't want to keep stopping and going to the bathroom. So then I don't drink enough water. And water is your best defense against these things staying in your body. Just keep drinking and flushing, drinking and flushing. Something you may not know, I see a lot of people talking about popping people under the dryer during a double process blonde, capping it and putting them under heat with sometimes 40 volume developer with bleach on scalp. I cannot stress how dangerous that is. So dangerous. You should never pop on scalp bleach under a hot dryer for any amount of time whatsoever. You know, Beth told a story to us about people putting regular single process color on scalp and putting it under the dryer to get either better gray coverage or to get it lighter, whatever the method to their madness was. But that a client can go to the bathroom when the color is on their hair and they've been under the dryer. If it's a blue-based color and they go to the bathroom, blue will come through in their urine. So there's been studies where people have gotten certain types of cancer, like bladder and kidney cancer, from hair color. And, you know, there's arguments all the time over the safety of what we use, but follow manufacturer's instructions. I know everybody talks about being so proud of breaking the rules, but there's chemists that create these products and they want to be as safe as possible. The only safest way to color hair is to not color it at all. You know, you're using chemicals, you're putting chemicals, and then you have your clients that are like, if I go to Whole Foods and buy a box color, will you put it on for me? Guess what, honey? If it covers your gray or it lightens your hair, it is not all natural. Just putting it on a shelf in Whole Foods does not make it all natural. The only all natural thing that colors hair is henna. And if you've been coloring hair long enough, you know that henna is a disaster to try to remove or try to color over. So it can be beautiful. If you're going to stay organic and all natural and be henna forever, you're fine. But if you want to dabble in henna and then become blonde like me, not so good. So the last session of boot camp is, what is today? Is Thursday, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last session of boot camp. And tomorrow I'm sharing my favorite corrective tools. So the things that are in my toolbox that I feel like I can't live without. I'm sure I could compromise and improvise, but I choose not to because they are a healthy version of the healthiest, gentlest way to make those corrections. So I'm sharing that tomorrow night. So I hope that you'll join me. I confuse everyone because Coffee Chat is here, boot camp's there, membership's there. I have all these different groups and different boot camps. So the boot camp the group is Hair Color Secrets Insider 3-day boot camp. Many of you have tried to join Hair Color Secrets Insider page. That is the paid membership, and you're going to be getting invited to that membership in the masterclass and boot camp. So the paid membership, you're going to get declined. So don't think that you got declined for the boot camp. You're getting declined for the paid group because you're not a paid member. So make sure that Facebook page says 3-day boot camp after Hair Color Secrets Insider. So once you join, you put in your email, you join, there's a code word to get in, you get approved. You can watch sessions 1 and 2 if you miss them. They're an hour long, so you have plenty of time before tomorrow night to catch up on sessions 1 and 2. And you don't have to catch up on 1 and 2 if you just want to come in and learn about the corrective tools. Come tomorrow night. And then you get invited to 2 separate options for a masterclass. And the masterclass, I'm sharing my foiling faux pas. It's all the things that we do that drive us crazy, that make mistakes during foiling that are very easily corrected. So I've gotten so many people write to me about sliding, bleeding foils, too much blonde, not enough blonde, all those things. So we're going to talk about all those things in the live masterclass. The live masterclass does not have a replay. You have to be there live for that because that's something that is a paid program that I'm giving free. So I don't leave it up in the group because then people share it and then it's not a paid program anymore. So there's a lot of value and it's definitely worth coming. And I am going to be giving a gift. I normally give gifts and have, spinning wheels and everything during boot camp, but it's always stressful for me keeping track of who won what and getting people's addresses. So this time I'm giving every single person that shows up for the live masterclass and stays until the end will get a gift. You don't have to worry about winning or being lucky. It's every single person that shows up gets that gift, and it's definitely worth showing up for. It's a good gift. So I hope to see you there. I hope to see you enjoying the boot camp, and thank you for letting me be raw and real with you about my big mishap. It's one of those things. I'm like, I would not be a good educator if I didn't share the downside. It's not always the Instagram perfect reel, and people don't usually share their mistakes. And I'm willing to embarrass myself to share with you that nobody gets it right every time. So when you're feeling like I'm quitting, I'm going to become a barber, I used to see people say, I'm just going to go work at a flower shop and have way less stress. Guess what? Flower shops have stress too. Anything that you do has stress. Anything that you do, there's growth involved, and there's always going to be mistakes. But mistakes are learning opportunities. You have to fail forward. You have to learn from the mistake and know that you'll never do it again. And you most likely won't let a coworker do it again. I don't have to worry about Johnny and Sylvia doing it because they both were like, I'm not doing this. Johnny said, I would have stopped at the back too. That was way too much work. So they were wonderful. They weren't hard on me. They were very nice about being disappointed in my family. I mean, Sylvia drove an hour to be there and we were there for 6 hours. It was a 6-hour project. So it wasn't some simple thing. So thank you for always listening. Thanks for being here for coffee and colorful conversation. And I hope to see you all tomorrow night in boot camp and in the masterclass. And if I don't see you, I will see you back here next Wednesday. So have a great rest of your week and fail forward. Learn from those mistakes.